Ladies and gentlemen, welcome along to the Fight Club Q&A ahead of the first ever UFC event in New Zealand. After 20 years of the franchise, we are finally hosting our own, and it is going to be a huge night tomorrow. Not just the main card, not just Tahuna, who we're all there to support against Nate the Great, but some fantastic other fights going on those other cards also. Now, the way that it's going to run today is you guys are going to get an opportunity to see the weigh-in in just a little bit. Before that, we've got a Q&A for about half an hour with two very special guests who we've got. You notice that there's a microphone stand just over there and then one just on the right as well. If you've got any questions for our two guests this evening, make sure that you just go up to those microphone stands, and I have it on good authority that these guys will talk about anything except stuff that happened before they were age 24. So if it was in the past, let's keep it there. The one rule that we've got really for the Q&A is don't ask these dudes for tickets. They're not in charge of that. I'm sure you guys have got yours already, but I do have it on good authority that there are just a couple left as well from ticketmaster.co.nz if you haven't got yours yet. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to give a little introduction to the two special guests who we've got on stage this evening. The first, ladies and gentlemen, comes to us from the Northern Hemisphere. He is the lightweight division winner in the Ultimate Fighter US versus UK. He was a head coach in the Smashers. Ladies and gentlemen, please, a round of applause for Ross, the real deal Pearson. And joining him as well, on stage, the first ever Māori fighter ever on the Ultimate Fighter on US TV screens. Very special for us. He's a Wellington-born middleweight fighter with a record of 17-5-1. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Dylan the Villain. Dylan Andrews, ladies and gentlemen. Now, once again, if you've got any questions for these two superstars, just make your way over to the mic stands. But Ross, if I may, I'd like to kick it off with you. I've got a bit of a question because you are coming off a fight night recently, earlier in the month, that had an incredibly controversial result to the point where Dana White said he wanted to fire one of the judges and then gave you a discretionary amount which he felt that you earned. You seem like a philosophical guy. How are you feeling about the decision now?
Yeah, you know, the dust is settled. I don't feel too bad, you know. I don't think it's done us any wrong. The UFC see it as a win. I see it as a win. The world sees it as a win. There's just two guys out there who didn't see it as a win. But you know what it is? You live and learn from it. And yeah, I'm ready to go back. I'm ready to get back in the octagon. No injuries. I didn't even get hit. I didn't even get a medical suspension. I'm ready to go, man. Just bring them on.
Speaking of medical suspension, an interesting situation with you, Dylan. You won your first two UFC fights. Your third was ended by a doctor stoppage. Do you have any misgivings about not being able to end that fight on your own terms?
Yeah, of course. Obviously, I couldn't help what happened. It's kind of a freak accident, and yeah, it is what it is, man. I've dealt with it, and I'm working on getting better.
Now, from memory, you're a dude who can take a lot of punishment as well. Didn't you split your shoulder in one of those first two fights or something, and you keep going?
Oh, that was in Indianapolis. Yeah, I sort of tore my AC in the first, and yeah, that ended well. It was good.
You say that very casually. What does that feel like, tearing your AC in there during a fight and then having to keep going as well?
It sucks, but it was still in place, so it was good enough to keep going. You know, not like obviously Brisbane where it popped right out. So yeah, injuries suck, but you deal with it.
Because was it you who had the massive pane of glass that fell on you at one stage as well?
Oh, am I Jamie?
Sorry, that's Jamie. I beg your pardon. My bad.
That's twice now.
My bad. First time for me, though. I'd just like to add. Ross, first time in New Zealand? You've been here before?
No, this is the first time, yeah.
How are you finding it?
Yeah, beautiful. It's amazing being here. I've always wanted to come and travel around New Zealand. I've been over in Australia quite a bit. My fiancée is from there, and yeah, I love traveling, meeting different people. The fans here have been absolutely amazing. I didn't realise how much of a fight fans is the place that New Zealand was, you know, and it's awesome to see. The people here have been more than welcoming, and it's awesome to be here.
Yeah, we're looking forward to a sold-out crowd tomorrow, and it is kind of interesting that it has taken as long as it has to get our first UFC fight here, but I think that it's going to hopefully continue a long tradition.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. It's a massive market here for the UFC. A lot of fight fans, and, yeah, the amateur scene, what I've been looking up here is get as big as ever, you know, so there's a lot of fighters developing and coming through the ranks, and yeah, I'm sure you're going to see more people from New Zealand fighting inside the octagon.
Now, you mentioned earlier that you're totally fine, you're fighting fit, you're very keen to get back in the octagon. I take it you may have had a little conversation with Dana White after the last fight night. Is there anything on the cards? What's looking in the future for you?
No, right now I'm currently in contract renegotiation. We just sorting out a contract. Once we sign, we're speaking to Joe Silva, and I just said to him basically, look, I'm getting married in September. I want to fight.
We can get a round of applause for that, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, I get married in September. I want to fight August before that so I can pay for this wedding. And then, yeah, so hopefully get a fight in August, get married, and then there's a show coming up in the end of the year in Australia, and I've put my name in the hat for that fight, so hopefully I'll get that card too.
How's the fiancée with you having to travel all the time and the fighting and everything?
I was doing UFC a lot longer than I was with her, so it comes part and parcel.
She's
of the
not
job.
watching now, I hope.
No, it's all good. She knows what the job's like. She's got her own career too, and it is what it is.
Fair enough. Dylan, I saw an interview a chat really that you were doing on Māori television last night, and they asked you what you missed about home, and you said the bakeries.
Yeah, man, the bakeries. Obviously, we don't get the bakeries back in Oz like we do here, so especially when I go to my mum's house, there's like a fresh bakery. I have to go past it to get
Give
to
it a
my
shout
mum's
out,
house.
man. You could increase their sales by 1,000% by giving them another
Wife
name.
for Two Bakery, what's up? Yeah. So that's it's a bakery down by my house that's a routine stop before I go to my mum's. Yeah, man.
You're a pie man? What do you have a hoon on?
Anything. Bakery. I go to the bakery and buy everything.
One of everything.
Yeah, one of everything, please.
Now, do either of you guys, actually, I want you to put yourselves on the line here, make any predictions on how the title fight's going to go tomorrow. Dylan, do you have any thoughts on how that fight's going to go?
The 5-rounder, Jamie?
Nate the Great.
Yep.
Oh, sorry.
The main event.
The main event,
main event, yeah.
Jamie, yeah, definitely. You know, my heart and support's with Jamie, and, you know, aside from that, skill-wise and everything else-wise, he has the potential to do it, and, you know, I believe it's not going to go 5 rounds, you know, what everyone's talking about, and, you know, I see a 2nd or 3rd round finish from Jamie, so he'll prove me right tomorrow.
Yeah, I actually feel it's going to be a lot sharper than that. I think Jamie carries the power, the speed. I think he wants it more. I think he's going to come out fast. I think he's going to come out early, and I think he's going to put him away first round. I really can't see Nate's size, speed, and power being a problem for Jamie. You know, he's been competing with some of the best guys in the world at 205. I know over this week his weight cut has went absolutely perfect. Not an issue whatsoever. He's handled everything amazing. He's on weight now, and he's just ready to rehydrate. So come tomorrow, he's going to be a beast in there for a middleweight.
I feel like you are preaching to the choir here, bro. That is.
This hat says it all, man. This hat says it all. Jamie's like one of my boys, man. I actually lived with Jamie for a month when I competed in Sydney back in 2011. That was the first time we met, and we've been in touch ever since. He's been over to England training, obviously fought in London. I've been back to Australia quite a few times, and we always go back to train together. You know, I get on so well. He's such a nice guy. Sometimes I wish he wasn't as nice as what he was, you know. He needs to just remember that he's a fighter and go out there and be nasty, you know. Sometimes he's a little bit too nice.
Just getting a little stage direction there. Apologies. If anyone would like to make any questions, just make yourself known. Just stand next to the microphone and we can throw some out. Yeah, over here.
Yeah, I was just wondering how well you guys can hear your coaches when you're fighting, and if you can hear it over the crowd, and how hard it is to adjust to what they're saying. Yeah,
it's especially in arenas like this when it's packed out and it's a crazy fight, and the noise is just crazy, but it's weird. You kind of get like this sixth sense that you can just hear one voice. You can't obviously the volume of the crowd is so loud, but then you just hear one voice, and that's your coaches, and you're not thinking about what he's saying because you haven't got time to think and then do the move because it's too late for that, you know. Your mind's just going, and you're just going with what he's saying. So it's not as if you stop and think, oh, wait there, you be quiet a second, I'll just listen to this guy. It's just, you're just going, and it's weird, but it's just how it happens.
Dylan, do you want to chat about that?
Yeah, how I feel, it's like it's like when you're in trouble and your parents shout out and you can hear that voice, you know, you stop doing everything. It's kind of like that for me. It's you kind of, the coach becomes a parent, and you sort of only hear the one voice, you know, or you hear your kid crying, or it's, you know, it's just that voice. So and it's instinctive to just do what they say. So yeah.
And do you guys train that at all in the gym? Have your coach yell stuff out and respond?
You know, with this fight with Diego, what I had in my last camp, you know, I was getting training partners to scream and like, yeah, let's go, come on, and, you know, like get wile us up and stuff. But not really for coaches' instructions, you know. I don't know what it is, but you just listen to what's familiar to you, you know. It just works out fine for me. I've never had a problem with it, which is pretty fortunate.
Just briefly, while you mentioned that, are you keen to have a bit of a rematch with Sanchez?
In one sense, I am. You know, I would like to do it in home in England, put him away. You know, make a statement. And in the other sense of business, it's like, what's the point? You know, I beat that guy hands down. You know, he didn't even hit us one punch. So it's kind of like, does it make sense to fight him again?
Sure.
But Diego's a legend, Hall of Famer. Probably the biggest name that I've fought in the lightweight division, and it would be, if the UFC wanted to do it, you know, I've never turned down a fight from Joe Silva. He knows that, I know that, and if it happens, it happens, and I'd love to do it.
Awesome. We'll go to this next dude over here.
Hey Ross, welcome to New Zealand.
Thanks a lot, man.
Hey, besides yourself, who do you think is going to be the next UK UFC champ?
Oh, next UK. I think Brad's up there, the top 5 in his division. He's got a big fight coming up in Dublin against McCall. He wins that fight, he's up there. We're closely getting a title shot, you know. Brisbane, Mike's got a big fight against Kung Lee in Macau. So I guess it's us three leading the way, really, for the British. But believe us, there's a lot of guys outside of the UFC from England, and they're coming through the ranks, man. I got a young kid in the gym. He's 19-year-old now. He's just had knee surgery, so he's going to be out for the rest of this year. But he's a beast, man, an absolute beast for 19-year-olds. So I'll be watching out for this kid in the future.
And also a question for both of you: where do you see yourselves after the UFC?
The UFC's kind of depict where I sort of will be in 5 or 10 years, you know, and obviously myself and how well I do with the UFC and what progresses after that. So, yeah, I'll kind of decide what happens in 5 or 10 years from how I act in the next 5 or 10 years.
Yeah, I'm going to be retired, living in Australia, right by the beach, big fat belly, drinking beer every day, and I'm going to have a big UFC belt posted on my wall above my mantelpiece, and I'll be happy retired like that.
Couldn't ask for better than that. Yes, sir.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Good, thanks.
A couple of questions. Ross, so you dropped down to featherweight for a bit, obviously. Just wondering, like, obviously it was a tough
Why was I so stupid? Is that what you're wondering?
No, I was wondering more like, what's your walking around weight when you were at featherweight, and what's your walking around weight now, back up? Is it much difference? Or is it
nah, it was no difference whatsoever.
Yeah.
I'm probably like 185 right now, 185 pounds, which is like just under 83 kilos, something like that. I tried my hardest to stay in the 70s walking around for featherweight. My body just couldn't handle it. I don't know. It was silly. It was a stupid idea. Mathematically, it was impossible for me to rehydrate in 24 hours, making 145 pounds. The weight is possible to do. I can do the weight cut, but to rehydrate in 24 hours was physically impossible. So it was a stupid thing to do, but you know what? I done it. I saw the bright lights. I saw the belt, I saw the money, I saw the fame, I saw the opportunity to have 2 big fights, get a title shot, fight Jose Aldo on a main card in Las Vegas. And, you know, I was thinking pound signs, you know, and I tried it. It didn't work out. What can you say? You know, who can anyone say for not trying? You know, I tried it. It didn't work, and I'm back at 55, feeling healthy. And I feel like my best fights is still ahead of us, you know. I'm turning 30 this year, and I'm just getting better, you know. I've been in the UFC 6 years now, and, you know, this is my home. This is what I do. I'm comfortable here, and I just want to go out there and put on the best fight for you, for the fans here.
We can get a round of applause for that, a showman, if ever there was one. Another question from you, sir? Yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to ask Dylan, obviously it's disappointing when you lost Uriah on the Ultimate Fighter, but how quickly did you find out you were going to be on the finale card? Like, was it pretty quick that they came to you and said, hey, good fight, you're going to be getting a contract anyway, or was it...
No, well, you know, I think Dana kind of stipulated to, you know, not just us, but to everyone that was going to watch the season, how good of a season it was, and, you know, they still say it is one of the best seasons that they've done. And the boys perform well, you know, and at the end of the day, that's all he asks, is that you go in there and fight. And he didn't really need to do a speech to us, you know. We all knew what we're there for, and, you know, we gave the boss what he wanted. And, you know, he reassured all of us that, you know, after filming that every one of you guys is going to get a fight on the UFC, on a main, you know, on an official UFC card, and what you do with that is up to you, you know. But we all earned the right to get one fight, and some of us made the most of it.
I see that there's a lot of, you know, like tough, experienced people. They end up fighting in the UFC cards later on, but against similar combatants from the same season. Like, is there on purpose, or is it just a coincidence you guys timed your camps together and like when you got?
And you know, I'm not sure about, you know, that the matchup wise and stuff like that. You know, obviously we have nothing to do with that. You know, it's what Joe Silva does, and you know, all we do is reply yes. You know.
So you wouldn't prefer to fight other people instead of the...
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, of course. You know, I'd much rather fight. You know, I'd like to fight someone who's more established in the UFC. You know, if I could. You know, ideally, but it's just not how life works. So.
No, that's cool. Thanks, mate.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Cool, man.
Thank you, mate. And we've got a question over here.
Yeah, just to Ross. Just seeing if you think Paul Daly's going to get back in the UFC.
I was waiting for that question. I knew. I get like literally 3-4 times a day someone will ask us that question. Man, I'd love to see Paul back in the UFC. Paul is one of my good friends, one of my training partners, and he's on a roll right now. He's got a lot of ass to kick, and he's got a lot of ass to kiss. So whether that happens or not, I don't know. It's not my decision. Dana's the big boss man. It's down to him. But me personally, there's nothing more I'd like to see than Paul there, because I'm sure right now you'd all love to see him knocking through the welterweight division.
So that's personally between him and Dana?
100%. It's all down to them, yeah.
Because I think he deserves a shot back in there.
Yeah, he's on a roll right now. He's outside of the UFC. He's doing kickboxing, stand-up fights. He's doing mixed martial arts fights. He's competing with some good guys, you know, and he's putting himself out there. So I definitely think he deserves a shot. I think he's matured as a person and as a fighter. And yeah, so hopefully he gets that opportunity to sit down with Dana and talk it through. Because I know for a fact he's got the talent and the skill to put a whole lot of mess in that welterweight division.
This is Dylan. Tough coming to New Zealand. Is that going to happen?
Oh man, I don't know.
You're in charge
man.
of the TV show, eh?
Yeah. I'll see what I can do, man.
Yeah.
If it was to come, who would you like to see New Zealand versus?
Australia?
What about South Africa?
You guys, take your pick. Who do you guys want to take on?
I was thinking South Africa.
Yeah, South Africa.
Let's hear a cheer for New Zealand versus South Africa if you prefer that option. And let's hear it if you want to see a trans-Tasman Ultimate Fighter. Would you guys want to see New Zealand, Australia?
Yeah.
Right.
What about all New Zealand? All New Zealand, sure.
While you guys are here, I want to pick your brain. So there's a question for both of you. Back to the title fight tomorrow. How far? It seems like you guys have made your mind up about how it's going to go. How far do you think Jamie can go and progress through?
In the UFC or the fight?
Yeah, and the UFC. it sounds like you've already made your mind up about how tomorrow's fight's going to go.
Yeah, only he can, decide that. He's got a good work ethic, man. He's a good person, and he'll take it as far as he wants to go with it.
Yeah, I totally agree with Dylan there. His future lies in his own hands. He's got the power, he's got the speed, he's got the athleticism to do anything he wants in this division. All that matters is that he goes out there and does it. He doesn't leave anything on the stool or back in the change rooms. He goes out there for 25 minutes and puts it out in there where it counts, and that's all that matters. And I'm sure he can go as far as he wants. Whether he gets the belt or not, that's all down to him.
And on a related note as well, what do you think happens to Nate the Great after tomorrow's fight?
I think he goes back home with his tail in between his legs. Nate is a great fighter. I've actually trained with Nate in Las Vegas. He's a great guy. He's a very well-rounded fighter. He's not just a striker fighting mixed martial arts. He's not just a grappler. He's probably one of the first guys that was a legitimate MMA fighter. He's a great grappler. He's got submissions, he's got wrestling, he's got strike, so he is a threat to Jamie. Wherever the fight goes, he's going to be in with a good hard test. So regroup, go back home, think about what he wants to do, think about who he wants to fight, and stay on the horse. Don't dwell on things. Get back on the gym, get back training, and come back stronger. That's what any fighter does.
Fair enough. We've got a question over here on the right.
This is for Ross. Have you played yourself on the game yet?
I thought you said, have I played with myself?
Since you've been in New Zealand, Ross, how have you been spending your time in the hotel?
I actually haven't. No, I've been getting lots of tweets and lots of Instagram pics and stuff. And yeah, the game looks sick, man. I've not played it yet, but I definitely want to try it out. I've been trying to speak to someone from EA Sports about hooking us up with the game and stuff. So yeah, we're definitely on with that process.
Dude, I'm sure that's going to be arranged. I'm sure there is someone right now behind the scenes making sure that you come back to that.
I'll put my name in half of that one.
Absolutely. And do you have another question, mate?
Yeah, did you do like motion capture sort of stuff for the game?
Yeah, so in probably a year ago now, there was a thing called the Fighter Summit, where all the fighters go to Las Vegas and Dana does a speech and tells us all how to handle our careers, tell us what to do, what not to do. No one really listens much, but gives us all a big speech, and we had to sit in like inside, like it looked like an igloo, like a big dome thing, and it had like all these sensors on, and there was cameras on like this revolving like wheel thing, and it went like all around snapping pictures, and you had to make like angry faces, sent square up to it and stuff, and that was pretty much it. Take photos of tattoos. I was in there like about 4 hours, so so yeah, that's pretty much all it was.
That's awesome. Thanks very much. And you, sir?
All right, question for both you guys. Ross, I know you want to fight in Australia later this year, and Dylan, you are fighting in Vegas later this year as well. So how long does it take to get over that jet lag? Because both of you are based far away from where you're fighting.
Jet lag is a bitch, man. It's kicking my ass right now. I've never traveled and been so bad at jet lag what I have with this trip. I've been falling asleep at like 7 o'clock at night. But yeah, when I'm in training camp, you adjust your sleep pattern. So say if I was back in San Diego training for a fight here, it's 19 hours time difference, but it's only like 5 hours on a clock difference. So there's 5 hours. So all you do is adjust your sleep each night, 1 hour back. So each night you go to bed an hour earlier, and then your sleep pattern is perfect when you land in New Zealand. So that's all it is, really. You don't feel any different. You just get tired at the wrong time. So if you get your sleep pattern right, there's no such thing as jet lag. That's all it is, really. If jet lag is only falling asleep at the wrong time. So that's all it is figuring out the time and then changing your sleep pattern. There's nothing else to change about it.
It's interesting that you seem to have such a disciplined approach to dealing with jet lag. Like
every at the top level of competing in any sport, really, everything is like a science. From what you put in your mouth, for what training session you do, everything is a science, man. Everything is monitored.
What you're going to pick at the bakery.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Like, do you find that bleeds into other bits of your life, that discipline that you have to apply to competing at this level, especially with athletics, because you have to focus on everything? And does it tick people off who are in your life, maybe friends and family, where they're not quite, they don't want to see that hardcore discipline?
Listen, if you want to be serious, and if you want to be a professional, and if you want to be a champion in this sport, you don't have to change your life for 3 months to get ready for a fight. You have to change your life every day. Listen, my job is every day at UFC. Like, if I'm not training, I'm thinking about training. If I'm not thinking about training, I'm doing something to help me get better at training, to do something. It's every day. There's not one day off. I don't train on Monday to Friday and then I go off and forget about it. Literally every day is my whole life has turned into mixed martial arts in the UFC, and that comes first. That's my priority. So if I go on holiday, I look, right, I'm looking at the dates, right? So I literally plan everything from what I'm going to eat to what I'm going to do. So I have this break here, and then, okay, the next day, mixed martial arts starts again.
And I take it that that's a similar philosophy for you as well, Dylan?
Yeah, man, pretty much exactly that. That is life, man. Life is training. That's it. You adjust your life around your work. This is your job, you know. This is what makes money, and that's it. And you just apply it to life in general. That's it.
We've got time for probably a couple more questions. So, yeah, sir, do you want to go right ahead?
Yeah, this one's for Dylan. You've got, obviously, Māori heritage. Have you ever thought about doing a haka in the cage or on the way to the cage? Because I reckon that would get you psyched up, really, to do some stuff.
Yeah, the thought's always there, but the thought and actually trying to get it approved and get all that happening is two completely different things, you know. Yeah. Obviously, I'd love to, man. You know, that'd be awesome. And if we could do something for Jamie like that'd be even better, you know. So it's all about approval, and you know, I'm always down for it, but it's just it's the higher people.
Is this actually something that you've looked into? Like, has there been discussions about that for Kiwi fighters or Kiwi-born fighters?
Nothing too much has been done of such, but we're trying to work on something for New Zealand for this card, so we'll see what happens.
Very cool.
Yeah, first question is, you guys both come from the Ultimate Fighter program. Have you thought any consideration into the thought of, if you didn't do it, what would you prefer? Like, would you prefer to go through the Ultimate Fighter program and train with all those good guys and spend that 6 weeks away, or do you think it'd be better just to find a way to go straight in from previous competitions?
I was fighting on the UK scene, and the UFC approached me with a contract to just fight straight in the UFC, and I was just about to sign the contract, and Joe Silva in the UFC called us up and they said, look, we're thinking about doing UK versus USA. Would you prefer to go in the Ultimate Fighter and fight on the show, you know, build up your fan base, let the world see you before you actually step onto the big stage, you know? And I was like, all right, let's do it. I don't mind. Let's do it. So I had the opportunity, the chance to choose which one I wanted to do, and I chose the Ultimate Fighter show. And then, listen, that was 5-6 years ago, and it hasn't done us any wrong, you know. I've built up a decent fan base. A lot of fans know us for what I've done on the show, and yeah, it's great that people got to saw that side of us when I was on the show, you know. It's a lot harder to come into the UFC and not having a fan base, not many people knowing who you are, and building yourself up from there, you know. So it's definitely a good point to start building your fan base and people watching you fighting.
Yeah, exactly the same thing. My goal was to do the Ultimate Fighter and make it through the show purely based on fan base and exposure, you know, prior to getting into the UFC, because I'd known of people who have just gone straight into the UFC, you know, and been 3 or 4 fights in, and they're still like, well, who is this guy, you know? And then once I had done the Ultimate Fighter, it was like I'd come in like fresh off a 5-fight win streak in the UFC, you know. People wanted to see me and wanted to see me fight, and you know, I hit the main card pretty quick for the UFC, which is a good thing. So my train of thought was to do the Ultimate Fighter. Plus, obviously, I enjoyed the experience, and you know, I loved everything about it.
Cool. And I've had a guy's homie do it as haka to me in the cage, and I was on the other end, and having a bit of Māori heritage myself, it got me more pumped than anything, and so it worked out all good.
Sweet, man.
I really think this idea of getting the haka in there tomorrow is something we need to really put a best foot forward on, eh?
Oh yeah, for sure. We're working on it.
Dylan, I've just got one last question. Sorry, over here, mate. Yep.
It's for both of you. And at what age did you decide that fighting was going to be a thing for you, and why?
Well, fighting mixed martial arts, I decided I wanted to fight professionally when I was like 17. I had my first fight when I was 18. But all my whole life, that's all I've ever thought of doing was martial arts. I started martial arts in Taekwondo when I was 6-year-old. I got a black belt when I was 9-year-old. I moved on to judo. I got a brown belt when I was 12. And 13, I started amateur boxing. And
did you bully or got bullied at school?
No. I was.
If you've got a black belt at age 9, you don't get bullied.
I was the guy that beat up the bullies. Yeah, I was never bullied or anything like that. My whole life, that's all I ever wanted to do was be a professional fighter. You know, that's all I ever see doing. I used to miss school to go to the gym and train, and that's all I could ever see myself doing. My family knew that. My parents knew that from a very young age.
Dylan, whenabouts was it for you that you decided this is what you wanted to pursue?
25. I was 25 years old. I was kind of at a point where I was never going to be a professional rugby player, and I wanted to be a pro athlete, regardless of whatever I did. You know, so I was a fan of the UFC, big fan of the UFC, and found a place to train and just progressed and got better and better. And I was like, oh, maybe I can do this. So I kept pursuing that, and I ended up here. Pretty awesome, eh?
Awesome. And Dylan, maybe just to wrap up as well, I've just got one last question. I've heard you talk about how, and speaking of kind of having this upbringing of martial arts, and as a kid your life could have kind of gone in two directions. I've heard you say that, and that your parents are quite proud that you've kind of made good and made something of it. Do you feel like you're a bit of a beacon now, that people are looking up to you, and that you can be a bit inspirational for other people in New Zealand?
Yeah, I hope so. You know, it's a similar lifestyle that I know I've shared with a lot of people my age, not only my age, but people that are growing up now the same way that I did. You know, and obviously, you know, it's just to be able to do something with your life. You know, you can change it, and if it can be a positive thing for people to watch and see, then by all means, man, I'm happy to be that person.
You use the word role model. You're okay to be a role model for
I'm cool with
people
that.
growing up? Awesome.
Yeah, man.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, can we please get a round of applause?
Thanks a lot, guys.
Ross, the real deal Pearson, thank you so much. Dylan, the villain Andrews, thank you.
Thank you, man.
Awesome to have you guys up here. Now, ladies and gentlemen, you guys stick around, don't go anywhere, because we do have, we're getting the fighters on the scale soon. I just want to give a quick shout out as well to an event that's happening later this evening at the Fox, which is on Customs Street, kicking off at 6 o'clock, where we're going to have some opportunities to get some photos and autographs as well. But right now, ladies and gentlemen, please, another round of applause for your two special guests this evening. Thank you very much, and we'll be right back.